Why? Why are you grinding away in the gym, pouring your literal sweat and soul into every single workout, only to look in the mirror and realize absolutely nothing has changed? Seriously, why are you leaving so much on the table, risking your joint health on the exact same repetitive influencer fluff that's doing zilch for your bottom line? Look, there is a 99% chance you've never even heard of at least 3 of the exercises we're going to cover today. And honestly, that's exactly why you're stuck. Today, we're pulling from the archives. We're resurrecting 5 joint-safe, old-school movements that are going to spark massive gains. Plus, I've got a secret 4-week blueprint hidden at the very end of this explainer that will completely rebuild your foundation. So stick with me, because this is going to change the game for you. So let's just ask that harsh question right out of the gate, okay? Why are your legs still the exact same size they were 6 months ago? I get it. The fitness industry totally preys on our FOMO. They feed us the same 5 or 6 basic movements on repeat. And you might be terrified that at 40, 50, or over 60, your window for real growth is just slammed shut. Or worse, that pushing hard is just going to absolutely wreck your knees and lower back. But what if the problem isn't your age? What if it isn't your effort? What if the problem is just that you're doing the completely wrong things? See, modern influencer fluff, it's entirely focused on convenience and ego-driven barbell stats. Everyone just wants to post their heavy squat PRs online, right? But contrast that with old-school foundational mass. The bodybuilders of the 1970s, they didn't care about ego. They cared about anatomical tension and brutal efficiency. Guys, muscle doesn't care how cool you look. It only cares about tension. And those older dudes built absolute tree trunks with basics done intelligently, creating massive wheels without totally destroying their bodies. So how did we get so far off track? Well, back in the 70s and 80s, these movements were golden era staples. But then the 90s rolled around and guys started doing them recklessly, literally zero preparation. They got hurt and abruptly blacklisted these moves as dangerous. And today, they're completely buried under an avalanche of influencer content. They became lost relics. But here's the truth. For older guys, especially men over 40 and 60, these lost relics are absolute gold. They deliver a high-growth stimulus with way less spinal load and joint risk. The problem is, if you've been doing the same 5 or 6 leg exercises for years, your body has figured out how to do them as efficiently as possible. And listen to me on this, efficiency is the enemy of growth. You've got to put your muscles in positions they aren't used to. You need novel challenges. Which brings us to section 1. Why are your legs shrinking? Let's dive straight into section 2, the ultimate quadra destruction hack. Now, before you roll your eyes and call the heel-elevated goblet squat a beginner warm-up, let's look at the clinical precision here. We are talking about hypertrophy in the lengthened position. When you elevate your heels, your center of gravity shifts forward. This lets you sit way deeper with a much more upright torso. Your knees actually travel further over your toes. And yeah, I know some bro science back in the day told you that's bad, but the research is super clear now. Knees over toes under load is perfectly fine for healthy joints, and it actually bulletproofs your tendons and ligaments when you load it progressively. So the crucial part is the execution. Step 1, get those heels elevated on a wedge or some small plates. Step 2, sit deep, keeping that torso completely upright so your quads take the brunt of the work. But step 3 is the magic. Hold it 2 to 3 second dead stop pause right at the bottom. No bouncing, zero momentum. That pause eliminates the stretch reflex, which is basically your body's built-in cheat code to get out of the hole. Without it, your quads have to generate pure, brutal force from their absolute most stretched position. 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps of this, and your quads will be on absolute fire. Moving right along to section 3, old school lunges and sissy squats. Okay, we're going to start with a lunge variation that sounds kind of strange, but is a total game changer. The walking lunge with a controlled forward lean. Notice that 15 to 20 degree angle? We aren't doing the perfectly upright lunge most modern trainers preach. You want a deliberate 15 to 20 degree forward inclination from your hips as you step and descend. Keep your spine neutral, just hinge slightly. The second you add that forward lean, you shift the movement from a quad-dominant exercise into an absolute posterior chain destroyer. Your glutes and hamstrings have to work in overdrive to control your descent and power you back up. Like the quote says, they built those legs with basics done intelligently. Back in the 60s and 70s, old school guys in the original Gold's Gym parking lot would walk the pavement doing exactly this variation. They had some of the most impressive leg development in human history, without a fraction of the fancy machines we have today. By your second set of 10 to 12 steps, your glutes are going to be screaming. And by the third set, you'll understand exactly why people stop doing them, because they're hard. But hard is exactly where the results live. All right, exercise number 3 might be the most forgotten relic of all, the sissy squat. And no, the name does not mean it's easy. It's actually named after King Sisyphus from Greek mythology, the guy condemned to push a boulder up a hill for eternity. Which is fitting because this feels like literal eternal punishment for your quads. You're standing upright, up on your toes, leaning your whole body backward as you bend your knees. Legendary bodybuilder Tom Platz built arguably the greatest legs in history using these. And let's just bust the myth right now. This is not bad for your knees. It only got blacklisted because reckless lifters with pre-existing issues did it with zero progression. Because look, safety and structure are key, especially if you're returning to the gym. You have to progress intelligently. Step 1, start with a partial range of motion, holding a pole or a rack for balance. Step 2, gradually increase your depth over the coming weeks, only going as deep as you can manage pain-free. Step 3, eventually perform them freestanding. It's pure knee flexion against gravity. And hey, if you're a guy over 40 or 50 needing a highly structured return to the gym that actually accounts for recovery, there's a 12-week over 40 blueprint linked in the source description for exactly that. But plug this movement in safely and your quads will get absolutely jacked. Next up, section 4, the sliding mobility muscle builder. So this is the Bulgarian split squat, but with a sliding rear foot. It's making a quiet comeback in some strength circles, but it's still basically unknown to the average gym goer. Normally, your rear foot is elevated on a bench, which is great, but with this variation, your foot is on a furniture slider disc or a towel on a smooth floor. As you lower yourself, that rear leg glides backward. This creates an inherently unstable environment. It's literally combining a split squat, an intense adductor stretch, and a crazy balance challenge all at once. Body weight alone will absolutely humble you the first time you try it. Now, the crucial point here is a massive hidden benefit. It fixes tight hip flexors from desk sitting. If you work a desk job, your tight hip flexors are actively inhibiting your glute activation. And if your glutes aren't firing, you're leaving serious lower body gains on the table. This siding motion gradually opens up those hip flexors on every single rep. You're fixing a mobility issue and building massive muscle at the exact same time. It's brutal, it's super uncomfortable, but discomfort is what builds extraordinary legs. All right, on to section 5, the Nordic hamstring reality check. If you've never done one of these, buckle up because it is going to humble you in a way very few movements can. Think about a standard leg curl machine. It works the hamstring in a shortened position with very low overall difficulty. People convince themselves that's enough. It's not. The Nordic curl, however, hammers the muscle in a lengthened position with massive eccentric demand. Gravity pulls you forward from your knees, and your hamstrings have to fight to slow you down. The sports science data is completely conclusive here. Nordics build strength and size faster than virtually anything else and dramatically reduce injury risk. This exercise will literally take a guy who squats 400 pounds and drop him flat on his face in the first 3 inches of descent. It's a reality check most people just shy away from. Because it's so incredibly intense, you absolutely must follow this progression. Step 1, start band assisted. Loop a resistance band around a high anchor and under your chest to help you through the hardest part of the range. Step 2, focus only on the eccentric or lowering phase. Go as slow as possible and catch yourself with your hands. Step 3, eventually work towards a full clean rep. And listen, you got to be extremely patient. The intensity is off the charts here. Keep the volume very low, like 3 sets of 3 to 5 reps. Trust me, that is plenty to spark enormous growth. Finally, section 6, your 4-week growth blueprint. Okay, you've seen the 5 forgotten relics: the heel elevated pause squat, the forward lean lunge, the sissy squat, the slider split squat, and the Nordic curl. Now it's time for the ultimate payoff to break through your plateau. Rule number 1, do not try to add all 5 of these into your next workout, or you literally won't be able to walk for a week. Pick just 2. Rule number 2, add those 2 to your current lower body routine. Rule number 3, perform them consistently for the next 4 weeks. By introducing this completely novel anatomical challenge, you're going to feel muscles working that you forgot you even had. You're going to experience deep soreness in entirely new places, and most importantly, you're going to experience real, visible growth. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question. Which of these forgotten relics will you conquer first to rebuild your legs? Don't let your own efficiency be the enemy of your growth anymore. Drop a comment below right now and tell me which of these movements you're adding to your routine this week. If you got value out of this explainer and you're ready to stop wasting time on influencer fluff, smash that like button and subscribe. And if you want to keep the gains rolling, go check out the upper body explainer next. Let's keep building.